The technology I chose was Kahoot. Kahoot is an online website where you can make quizzes that are fun for your students. So I'm going to log in. Kahoot is free to use. You just need to make an account. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is here's my home page. I am going to click Discover. One of the cool functions of Kahoot is that you can look up quizzes made by anyone. So since I teach first grade, I'm going to look up quizzes for first grade. Something that I know that I teach in first grade is 3D shapes. So I can click on first grade shapes. And here I can say play. Now I can host it or I can challenge it. So challenge is when you challenge others to play it at their own pace. So that's for students on their own. If I want to present it and have my class all involved, I would host it. And so when I'm hosting it, you can either choose between Classic, which each player has their own device, one-to-one devices, or I would do team versus team. We would share a device. So since my classroom, we only have about 7 iPads I can use at a time, I would probably do team versus team mode. So I would click on that. It would say get into your teams. And then I would tell my students or put up on the board this pin. Once they have this pin and they are able to type it into their iPad on the Kahoot app, then their team names will show up. I will show you an example of how it looks in a little bit. All right, if we go back to Discover, it displays the top picks, so Science of Sleep. These are the most popular Kahoots on the website right now. It even has diversity, review quizzes, and quizzes in categories of age. So this would be perfect for me since I teach first grade. I could look through here and see different quizzes. Name the animals could just be for fun in first grade. So it's grouped by age, and then by learning to read, English, trivia, history, math, science. So there are a lot of different pre-made quizzes that you could choose for your students. All right, so now if I go to Kahoots, these are the Kahoots that I've created. So my Kahoots, I've made 2 quick examples of Kahoots I would use in my classroom. So the first example I'm going to show is the math review. So I'm going to edit it to show you what it looks like when you're editing your Kahoot. So when you're editing your Kahoot, you're going to type your question up here. So for this example, I have 2 + 6 = ? You can set a time limit. So however long you think it's going to take your students to answer this question, you can set it. You can award how many points it's worth. And then you can choose if there is 1 correct answer or if there are multiple correct answers. You can even add a photo underneath your question or a YouTube link if you want to post a video. So for this question, I made it multiple choice and I just typed in the number. You can also upload a photo and then you click on this circle to choose which answer is correct. For this one, I made it a true and false option. So if I'm adding a question, I can choose a quiz or true and false. So for this one, I chose true and false. Since true and false is something we learn in first grade, I thought this would be perfect. I put a true and false equation at the top. So 5 + 4 = 1 + 9. And I do not think 20 seconds would be enough for first grade. So I would change that to maybe 90 seconds. So students would get 90 seconds to try to decide if 5 + 4 = 1 + 9, and they would choose true or false. So here is a preview of how it would look on the board. All right, so if I click done, we can say test this Kahoot. So here's an example of how it would look for our students. On a phone they could use, or on their iPad, you would type in the game pin that it shows. So since my class would be team versus team, I'm going to click team mode. So here is my pin. So I'm going to type it in and enter it. And then I'm just going to say my team name is my name. So you would choose nicknames for your students. So you could have Chris, Ben, Kelly. So now we know the team name and the people inside the team. So we're going to say start. Two plus 6 equals. So now with my team, it's time for us to talk and we can think about it. So we're discussing the answer, and this is very friendly for first graders because they just have to match the color and the shape to their answer. So I think that it is 8. So I'm going to click the square. Once you guess it, it shows how many people guessed the correct answer and which teams did. All right? So that's an example of how it works when you're actually playing the game. My other example, select Kahoots, I made for the story The Lorax. In my first grade classroom, we learn about the Lorax. All right, so here is the quiz on the Lorax. I chose 60 seconds for the first one. In this quiz, I've implemented uploading photos. So here I uploaded the photo of the cover of the book. So this question is, what is the setting in the Lorax? I thought that for my first graders, it would be very difficult for me to type out different settings because not all of them may read it. So instead, I took different pictures of settings from different Dr. Seuss books. So then I uploaded those photos instead of writing words. For this question, I had them choose an emoji to show how the Lorax is feeling. So this way, I thought this is a great way to incorporate all students. All students are able to understand the different emotions, and they won't have anyone not having an idea because they can't read it. All right, so now we're going to test the Kahoot so you can see how it would look for the students. So as a teacher, this is how it's going to look on the board. I'm going to choose team mode again. Now, if you have enough devices for each student, you could do player versus player. So team mode. I'm going to type in the pin that pops up. Alright, I'm going to say my team name is Tamara again. Choose my nicknames for my students. Alright, I'm going to say start. Alright, quiz. Which is the setting in the Lorax? Alright, so there's a reminder of the Lorax. Which one is it? Gives us time to think first. And then as a team, we have a minute to choose our answer. Now for this one, since they're all photos and it's not a math equation, we may not need a minute. So as a group, I would say this one is from the Lorax. So I'm going to click the blue diamond. And it shows how many people guessed that one correct. And it has a scoreboard of who has the most points. So obviously if there are other teams up here in our classroom, it would have who has the most points and who does not. Remember, you can change the amount of points per question. All right, this next one is choose an emoji to show how the Lorax is feeling. So here I put a picture of the Lorax to see how they're feeling. We've got time to talk as a team. And now we can look at the emojis and figure out what the Lorax is feeling. So let's say I don't answer correctly. Let's say I think the Lorax is feeling sad. It's going to show that we did not get it correct, and it would show who did. And did not get it correct. So leave. All right, so now if I go to reports, I continue to reports, I can look at how my students did. So let's click on the Lorax. It says, well played. So it remembers just from the example how we did on the quiz. It shows the questions that the students had difficulty with. So since I got the second answer wrong, it shows which ones that we're struggling with. So it's going to say, who needs help and who didn't finish. So if you were playing one to one, everyone had their own device, you would be able to specifically see which questions that people really did not understand. But since they're playing it as a team, it would be harder to understand. So it's going to show you the players that were involved, how many points they got, and what they specifically got correct and what they got wrong, and how much time it took them to answer each question. It also shows you the questions. So this is a great function if you're using a review, like my math review, to really see what students understand and what they don't understand. When looking at your Kahoot, you can also favorite it, edit it, so I could add it in a description, and I can make it public or not public. Right now, it is not public. It is a private Kahoot, but I can change it to be public. So I've already explained how I would use Kahoot in my classroom. I could use it to help further understand content I already teach. It would be a great way to really review content, like my math review, and understand which students need more help than others in specific questions. A downfall of Kahoot is that if you are looking at reports and your students are working in teams, you cannot specifically see which students need help and what. It will tell you what students had struggled with as a team with different questions, under difficult questions like we did, but you will not know what specific students need, especially because if you're in a classroom setting such as mine where you only have 7 iPads, not all students are going to get a chance to do it individually. So that's a downfall to Kahoot. Another positive to Kahoot is that you can use photos in your question and in your answer options, which is great for elementary education. You can also just use text. So really this application or this website can be used for students of all ages, and having the different options to download quizzes that are already made would be very helpful for teachers everywhere. Another limitation to Kahoot is that when you are creating Kahoots, you can only make a Kahoot that is a quiz or true and false. There is no extended response question. So let's say each student has their own device and it's a fill in the blank or a sentence response. Students do not have that option. So it doesn't really provide that extra critical thinking component, but it is a great way to quickly quiz students and make it fun. Students also get more points the quicker they answer. So if students are just trying to quickly guess and it's promoting guessing quickly or answering the question quickly, then they may get it wrong. So that's another downfall. So students might be focusing on just answering the question quickly but not really thinking about the content of the question. I think that students should be rewarded for knowing the correct answer, and it should be promoting that instead of focusing on more points for students who guess it quicker. You could turn off the points that are given so that students don't feel like they need to rush their answer, but there won't be that competitive feel to the quiz anymore if all points are gone. All right, so that is all about Kahoot I wanted to share today. Read more about how it applies to the SAMR integration model below.